Hi, Blue Fox here. On September 27th, 2015, I took pictures of the eclipse of the moon. I set up my 5-inch telescope using a 17mm eyepiece and took these snapshots. You will notice in the pictures stars show through the dark portions of the moon. And as I go through them, I'll blow them up a little larger so you can see these stars. I'll point to one. There's a blue star here, a white star. There's another star right here that shows up quite good. And that's that picture. Move on to the next one. You can actually see the stars here. So we'll zoom in and we'll see a red star with a white star right in here. And then there's 3 stars, a white star, a blue star, and another blue star. And there's a white star pretty much over here. Okay, now this one here, you can see the stars. 1, 2. That's pretty bright. And I'll zoom in on it. Now there's a red star, white star, showing through the moon, white star, and then blue star again, with another star over here. And as we go further down, we see another blue star and a white star. There's more stars that I'm picking up on this film. They do have 2 stars out here and on the edge, but this is basically closer to the left side of the moon. Moving on, you can see 2 stars here. There's another star here, 2 stars down the bottom, and another star here. So we'll zoom that up for you. There's the one on the bottom. Some stars shining through. There's another 2 stars. Faint one in the background. And we have this star, this blue star, and this white star. Also we have 1 star shining through here. And we look at this, we see the stars shining through again. So what my point is, that is the moon transparent? I've heard people talk about that, and as I see these pictures, I see that there's stars shining through like they had predicted.
Rahu, which is another celestial body in Vedic astronomy that they said existed the same size as the sun and the moon. It's also been called the black sun. And this is the ancient explanation for eclipses. They claim that Rahu eclipses the sun and the moon, not as modern day they claim that in solar eclipses the moon eclipses the sun, and in lunar eclipses they claim that the shadow of the ball Earth eclipses the moon, causing that. This one actually is provably not true, however. They say that the sun lines up with the Earth just perfectly to cast the shadow of the Earth onto the moon like 3 billiard balls in a straight line. However, many times, over 50 times in the past 500 years, it's been recorded by the Royal Astronomical Society that the sun and the moon were both visible above the horizon at the same time during an eclipse, which means they couldn't have been not even close to in a straight line. They're almost next to each other. So this explanation of the shadow of the ball Earth going onto the moon is impossible for being what the eclipse is. They also use that as a proof of the ball Earth. They say, hey, see the shadow? It's a ball. But this is impossible. So you're not seeing the shadow of the ball Earth. It's not a proof of the ball. And in fact, a better explanation is this ancient explanation of the black sun, or Rahu, which occults the sun and the moon at certain points during the phase. There's an 18-year cycle that eclipses go through, and every 18 years it repeats. So you can predict eclipses based on this geocentric flat model with Rahu, as they've been doing for thousands of years. Nowadays, they claim to be predicting it based on the billiard ball, sun, moon, and Earth lining up. But as I said, this is not happening. So this is yet another lie. And this claims of seeing Nibiru or some other celestial body very well may be this translucent dark body, the black sun, since we're not told about it anytime we see strange phenomenon and think it could be a second sun, it very well may be this one, the black sun.
And with all due respect to the late Zachariah Sitchin, anybody who wants to listen to his last interview, you can go to our websites right there. The fact that he had his office in Rockefeller Center in New York City makes you wonder if he's part of those cultural editors that continue to keep us in the dark. But Eric, you say the moon is self-illuminated. Why do we only see portions of the moon during the various moon phases?
Yeah, they say that the cause of the moon's phases is the reflected sunlight hitting it. But you can prove that the light of the moon is totally different from the light of the sun. The effect it has on foods and plants is different. The actual temperature of the light is different. So if you're in the sun, of course, in the shade, it's cooler than in the sunlight. But in the moonlight, it's cooler in the moonlight than it is in the shade. So if you go in the moon shade, temperature goes up. So it couldn't possibly be reflected sunlight, otherwise it would be warm, just like the sunlight is warm. So it's casting its own light. The phases are a function of the moon itself, and it's provably a translucent flat object, not a opaque ball, as they claim the moon is. If the moon was a ball, first of all, you'd be able to see different faces from different areas on Earth. So if you're at the Arctic or the equator or the Antarctic, you should be seeing different features because you're looking at a different face of the moon from there. However, no matter where you are on Earth, you'll see exactly the same face, the same man on the moon, the same rabbit will always be there, but it'll be tilted 360 degrees at various inclinations because the moon actually turns like a wheel as it goes around us. And that's another proof they use of their ball model. They say in the north hemisphere, the moon is right side up, and in the south hemisphere, it's upside down. So that's proof that we're on a ball. But as I said, it's not so simple that it's just right side up in one hemisphere, upside down in the other hemisphere, but rather it's always turning. So you can find pictures of it at all inclinations, not just two opposite inclinations. So this is one proof that the moon is not a sphere. They say that the moon's a sphere and it rotates as well as the Earth, but since we only see the one face, their excuse is the moon rotates the opposite direction the Earth does, and it's perfectly synced so that when the Earth is moving and the moon is moving, we never see any other face. So another convenient explanation. But in reality, the reason we never see the dark side of the moon is because it doesn't exist. There isn't another side of the moon. It's just a translucent, it's not densely physical because you can see through it. There's been pictures taken of stars being seen right through the moon. And the Royal Astronomical Society has recorded stars and planets like Jupiter have been seen through the moon. And they're scratching their heads recording this, like wondering what they've seen. And this is on record back in the 1700s up until today. You can see things through the moon. On a clear afternoon, you can see the blue sky through a waxing or waning moon. You'll see part of the moon illuminated, and then part of it, you'll see the blue sky right through it. Even some of the craters, as they call them on the moon, that's potch marks, nobody knows exactly what they are. It's strange looking. Calling them craters, though, is a foregone conclusion because you don't know that that's what they are. Especially, as I'm saying, some of these supposed craters, you can see the blue of the sky through the crater. So it's obviously not something that's densely physical. You can see through it. You can't see opposite faces from different places. And if it was a ball can't reflect light either. The only way that the moon could reflect light like they say it is if it was a flat or a concave surface. A convex surface can't project light, reflected light, the way it's claiming that the moon does.
Now, Occam's razor for a moment. if you and I are born and raised by, say, an isolated tribe in the Pacific, and you and I look at the horizon around us, we would think the Earth was flat if nobody told us the opposite. And if you saw an eclipse and the sun and moon look exactly the same, you would come to the conclusion that the two objects are the same size, wouldn't you?
That's right, exactly. And you wouldn't come to the conclusion that you were moving either. They say that we're spinning 1,000 miles an hour, we're going around the sun 67,000 miles per hour. There's no way you would think of that, because it's nowhere evident anywhere that we're moving. Instead, you'd look up and you'd see that the sun, moon, and the stars are all revolving perfect circles around us. And that geocentric common sense perspective is what you would assume the truth was, until some liar with a NASA logo on his shirt, a little forked snake tongue, if you notice, that's what the logo is. They come with their little forked snake tongue and they say, "Oh, silly peasant, you're not motionless with everything revolving around you. The sun is motionless and you're revolving around it.